Yo, Dragon Ballers, quick break in the video to give a huge shout out to PPG, who is going above and beyond to make our organized play season the best that it can possibly be. I'm here on the PPG event management website. I'm going to link this down in the description, so all you have to do to sign up for any of these events is go down to that link. Next up is the Origins event, which is a huge one, guys. They have events going from Wednesday to Saturday. Practically every single day of the con, you can play a Dragon Ball Super event, among other card games. It's going to be an absolutely incredible time. Next up, after that, we have an event in Denver, which is for the Pro Play Tour organized season. Not only are you playing for an invite to the Pro Play Invitational, but you're also playing for $2,000 guaranteed. And if you want to, guys, there is also a Team War event in that same weekend, and Team War is one of the best formats to play. If you haven't played a tournament with your friends, you absolutely have to do it. And then finally, an event that I know for sure that I'll be attending is the Too Many Games convention in Philadelphia. This is actually a regional for the regular Dragon Ball Super organized play season. So again, guys, super huge shout out to PPG. Secondly, this website is so awesomely laid out. All you have to do is go to this website. All these different tabs here will take you to the events you want to sign up for. I hope to see you guys there. Let's get back into the video. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile from the Texas Akon Regional. I am here with Gerardo, who got top 16 with Gogeta Xeno, which is an absolutely crazy thing. But first of all, Gerardo, how's it going, man?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Excellent. So the crazy thing about this is you decided to take Gogeta Xeno to Texas after the insane bans that it received. So before we get into the list, why did you decide to play Gogeta Xeno?
Well, you know, going into the new format, I tested all the decks. Like I tested U7, Cell, even God Trunks, the Trunks Gogeta, Yellow, Sin, GT Goku, even the Gamma deck. Like I play tested all of those decks, and I'm like a natural aggro player, so I kept playing Gogeta. I tweaked it a little bit, and even with the hits and everything, I could still kill people turn 2, turn 3, and none of these other decks can do that. So at the end of the day, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna play what fits my play style. I'm just gonna have fun. If I do well, I do well. If I don't, I don't.
And you ended up doing very well. That's awesome. Were you playing Gogeta Xeno much before the hits, or did you pick it up kind of after the fact?
I've been playing it ever since Dark Broly got hit.
Okay, cool. So you've been a dedicated Gogeta player, and you kind of just fell back to it, you know, post ban list, which is pretty cool. So I know a lot of people want to see the list, so let's get right into it. I'll go through this in a way that I think kind of makes sense. So of course we have our 4 Kai to play our unisons, and you're playing 4 copies of Pycon. So I kind of thought, before I saw the list, I kind of thought you might be leaning a little bit heavily into the 1-drop aggro version. Would you say this is like the primary focus of the deck?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So the deal is the Paikuhan, you play it turn 1, hopefully. Then you play a Gogeta Fearless Fusion that sets up a blocker. You bring it up to 2 markers. Next turn, if you draw another Paikuhan, you can put it under, get it 3 markers, minus it, and then play the Marvelous Melee.
Martial Melee. Okay, so that's what you want to get into, is Martial Melee. So yeah.
So turn 2, you could get him out and then swing twice with him, and then you could swing twice with the God Trunks, swing with the leader, you can even swing with the Paikuhan once he has 3 markers, and even swing with the blocker if he doesn't die once you defended your Paikuhan. And I mean, that's insane. Turn 2.
Gotcha, and that makes a lot of sense. I was kind of curious, and I'm just bringing up Martial Melee here because people probably haven't seen it in Gogeta Xeno in quite some time. But yeah, this guy can attack multiple times if you're able to put a Goku and a Vegeta from your warp to your drop, and then like Gerardo was saying, you can attack with it early if you are able to play it off Pycon. So yeah, and that's what I was kind of wondering, because you know I saw Pycon and I immediately kind of assumed like, oh, it might be like 1-drop rush, which I guess you can technically do, but then I was also kind of wondering, well, now we don't have Marvelous Might, so you actually have to, like, you know, draw the 1-drops, hard cast them, stuff like that. But it seems like you're really just using the Pycon for the -3 to play Martial Melee, huh?
Yeah, the 1-drops is really just to neg my opponent. So if I play against someone who restands their energy, I try to get the Vegeta out. If I know they're going to try to negate once, try to get that 1 card. Because, you know, in a high-level game, like, a 1 extra 5k matters, like at the end of the day, like heavily. So and mainly it's also for an awakening, because in this strategy of the deck, I don't take my life. Like I let my opponent take my own life. So if I get to swing 7 or 8 times turn 2, I'm at 7 life when I pass turn.
Got it. Okay, so it seems like a slightly different way of playing Gogeta, but I mean, it's really cool that you've adapted it to the new format. Another question I had for you. So for fusions, we have Gogeta thwarting, we have Fearless Fusion, and I'm assuming you don't fuse into Martial Melee very much because it costs 3. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I've never played it like that.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just curious, like, do you kind of just not worry about the leader, like, drawing off Union, or is it just kind of, it's nice if it comes up kind of thing?
Yeah, like my deal is I'll try to play the Fearless Fusion mainly. Like that's the main consistent card that comes out. So you try to get them out whenever you can, get that extra draw, and then you have a blocker, and then most of the time I just swing with it anyways.
Gotcha. And then of course you're playing the 4 copies of Beyond All Limits, which is really cool in a deck like this, where you can actually pick up your 1 copy of thwarting if you happen to mill it at some point. So how often would you say you're actually able to get thwarting, in general through that method, and then just actually play it to the board?
About probably 2 to 3 times. Like it's really not that crazy. SS4 Son Goku is the heart and soul of this strategy, because you just have so many 2-ofs and 1-ofs, like now. So it's mainly like my last round, that was one of the biggest issues. I milled 3 of him, like first mill of the game, and I was like, oh yeah, I probably lost this.
I see. And yeah, the main way we're feeling that, of course, for anyone who doesn't know, is going to be through SSG Trunks Power Awakened. So my other thought before talking to you was that, I thought you were kind of going the 1-drop spam route, which I guess is not really the method of the deck, but I also thought you were probably leaning pretty heavily into this card. So how vital, does this card feel? Is this one of your main forms of pressure?
Yes, that's the main one that gets the whole ball rolling. So if you can establish the unison and have 3 markers on it, you can get the Martial Melee out and then swing twice with God Trunks, and then overwhelm for either a Vegeta or a Goku. So that's a 30k swing on top of that, and so it's all this pressure so early on.
Yeah, and that is pretty cool too, because throwing the Pycon back in the mix, because a lot of people I don't think were really playing Pycon for a long time before all the hits and whatnot. Pycon gives you another form of free play, which is kind of nice to add to the deck now, since so many of your key cards got hit. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you're paying 2 for Trunks doesn't even feel very bad, because you're going to overwhelm for Beyond All Limits, pick up whatever you need, and you're going to Pycon -3 for free play, and then overwhelm. That's just it feels really, really strong. And then just going through the rest of the list here, this top row looks pretty standard. Super Kamehameha, of course, Champa. So you're main decking the 8-drop Gogeta. Was this more of like a meta call because you expected slower decks, or did you feel like that's just like a vital part of the deck now?
It's really good against U7, because in the U7 matchup, you're not going to kill them early. It's just, there's no way you can. Even if I do the 8 swings, they somehow still have 3 or 4 life at the end of the end of that turn. So the strategy for that matchup is basically just try to grind it out, not take your own life, let them do it for you, petrify their Vegeta Secret Air or the 8-drop Goku, like just petrify either one of those. Next turn, you're at 5 energy, play the Gogeta, or even if you're at 4 energy, play the Gogeta, remove whatever they decided to play and you petrified, swing 3 times, rip cards from their hand. Like, it's just so much pressure.
Nice. And the other reason I think this card's really good too is because green is making somewhat of a comeback back into the meta, and I think this card's very good against green as well. It can't be KO'd. It's an 8 cost, so it gets around Charismatic Villain. Did you play against any green? Was this card clutch against any of those types of decks?
Yes, yeah, I played against a couple cell players. In testing, it was really good, but against them, I didn't need it.
Gotcha. You were able to kill them a little faster?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. And then for the main deck, we've got 2 copies of King Vegeta, A Kingdom Lost. So this is like a little bit more of a, I don't know, I would call it like a bit of a more mid-rangey card, but what was the main purpose of you including this in your deck?
That's another card for, so this deck, my strategy was to be very, very, very aggro early.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it turns into a mid-range game, I have mid-range cards. So the King Vegeta is amazing anytime that we go past turn 4, turn 3, like, if it gets to that point, this is one of the best cards in the deck. And because then you could pressure them with double strike, kill a card, Or my favorite part is just to rip a card. This deck doesn't have that. You know, ripping a card at random is amazing. You'll always hit something that they'll hate that you hit, you know? And then after that, once they try to swing back at you, they'll lose a card, like right off the bat.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, just having the preparedness, I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I love this card a lot, so it's that's pretty cool with me. One thing I want to ask you about the main deck, and then we'll move on to the sideboard. I am a big advocate of Supreme Kai of Time, Guardian of Space Time in mono black decks. I'm not sure if you were playing it, you know, before the ban list or not. But have you ever played around with that card, and what do you think about it in a deck like this?
I like it a lot, but in my strategy is it doesn't really work because the only time I have an open energy, I need it for petrification. And I don't end up having multiple energy open, so that's why I have the free negates. So part of the Dark Empire and
I think we're talking about different cards. I'm talking about the Kai that combos for 10k when your hand is 5 or less.
Oh yeah. Okay. I got that confused.
No,
I did try that on there. I tried that card, but there's no room in the deck.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 52 cards. I tried my best to get it at 50, and it was just impossible. So.
Gotcha. No worries. I was just curious because like I said, I'm a big advocate of that card. But no, I mean, if you can't fit it, it makes sense. Then we go to the sideboard here. So max power. I think this makes a lot of sense because, you know, you don't have as many thwartings anymore. So against like Sin Shenron, for example, that's probably a pretty good one. What other matchups were you bringing in max power for?
Just that matchup, really.
Okay. Do you find that matchup's like a lot tougher now without more thwartings?
In testing, it wasn't too bad because just you do just play the grind. You're no longer trying to kill them very early. Mm-hmm. If they do get the triple striker out, you take the triple strike because I'm usually at 7 or 6 life, so I'm fine with it. And then just try to kill them that next turn.
Got you. Koitsukai, of course, for any arrival decks or just decks that play cards during your turn. A cool synergy for people who don't know is if you happen to warp Koitsukai with your leader, for example, SSG Trunks can put it back into your drop area. So that's a really cool synergy there. One more petrification for when you needed it, and then Bardock Fully Unleashed, same thing, just really for Sin.
No, it actually works. I like it for Cell.
Okay.
Because it once you get into grind game, they run out of the materials that they have underneath, so then you end up just warping their whole board.
Yes, absolutely, very cool. Yeah, it's people would kind of, I think, look at this funny because it doesn't actually kill them because they have the ability to, you know, remove the materials to save it, but just having a free card that can remove those materials, you know, helps you get further ahead in the game because, you know, they can only dual attack so many more times, they can only block so many more times, stuff like that. That's really good. And then we have 2 copies of Bardock the Tenacious. So the meta at Texas did not look very aggressive. Did you play against any other aggro decks where this was relevant?
Well, the funny thing is with this card is that I thought it was going to be best of 3 like till the night before the event. So this was my game 3 siding card, and so I didn't put it in the whole tournament. Like, it was just there.
I see. So did you actually play against any aggro or not really in your best of 1 Swiss?
No, I didn't.
Gotcha. Would you say like the room, I don't know if you looked around or anything, was the room just like all types of just like mid-range and control decks?
Yeah, I didn't see anybody else playing aggro.
Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, we're definitely in a very new meta space here. But wrapping up the side deck, Deborah, of course, for your hand control types of decks. I am very curious what you wanted to bring this card in against, Demon the God Demigra.
So this one's also for the U7 matchup. Like that was the matchup that I focused the most because I felt like the whole room was going to be full, and I was right. If you looked across the room, it was like almost 50% U7, like it's what it looked like.
Interesting.
So this is also for the grind game because you're going to get down to turn 6, you know, turn 5 with that deck. So it's just an extra card you can bring down.
Very cool. And then last card in the side deck, talk to me about the Oceanus Negate.
This card was amazing. It's just for U7 and then any other grind game, basically. Like, it's just so good. I basically put it against every single matchup. Like, I almost feel you should mainboard it. It's so good against every single deck.
Interesting. So yeah, it definitely sounds like to me, you know, you're playing an aggro deck in a meta that seems to be slowing down a lot, which I think is a really good call. And then it seems like a lot of your sideboard and even a little bit of your main board has just allowed you to kind of flex into mid-range if you needed to, which is some pretty cool deck building, I would say. But anyways, Gerardo, I mean, that takes us to a whole deck. So now that we're wrapping up, any shout-outs you want to throw out there? Any last things you want to say?
Yeah, I'd like to Shout out everyone over there in Dallas. They play at Epic Cards and Games. You know, I get to go and play with them every once in a while. Rohit's from over there, and you know, I get to play test with him on webcam and stuff. It helps me a lot. Everyone at Gamers XP in Shreveport, Louisiana. You've probably heard of those like Shreveport 1Ks that they had back in the day, and you know, everyone over there is pretty cool. And then that's where I have to go usually to play. It's like 2 hours away, but you know, that's my nearest locals. And then but yeah, everyone from that area. Brad, definitely, for helping me figure out that U7 matchup. We play tested an entire day for that one, and that's what figured it out, and it helped out a lot over the weekend.
Awesome, man. Well, once again, congratulations. Very cool stuff you did with a deck that everyone thought would be super, super dead, and we'll see you next time.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good one.